21st century learner is someone who's going to have to be flexible, someone who's going to have to be prepared to respond very quickly to change, someone who also isn't necessarily going to have the same support structures that traditionally families and extended families. That the world today has shrunk, and the mobility that young people have. My generation going overseas was a big deal. Now people are taking jobs all around the planet. So yeah, it's a different world, and we have to get our head around that.
It's not just about learning for today. You need to be a constant learner. In other words, it's ongoing. So again, if you sort of look at all of that, the way that, for instance, students don't necessarily, say in our current setting, necessarily have to be in the room at the same time. With the use of so much glass, it's able to have the students out doing some different activities, breaking up into different sections. Some could be using or integrating at least ICT in what they're doing. Others could just be doing some group work. So again, the building that we currently have lends itself very much to that.
Different students have different predominant learning styles, and teachers have predominant teaching styles. I guess the challenge for a good teacher is to make sure that he or she is picking up on the different learning styles of his or her students. Hence, in the new centre, the fact that we have a very formal area, like our lecture theatre, where students can be prepared for a more university environment where we can combine, if we've got 3 English classes running at the same time, occasionally those 3 groups can come together with one teacher who might have some particular expertise or passion about some aspect. That teacher then can lecture, which is I guess one way of learning, but then the centre allows the flexibility for that larger group to break into smaller dialogues and collaborative learning spaces. So we've gone from the very formal, which is a lecture theatre, to classrooms which provide more flexibility in that if you looked in the centre, some teachers have set their rooms up in a traditional way with straight rows. Other teachers have set up their rooms more in groups. So there's that mid-ground, which is the classroom, but with the glass. And then, of course, you have those very collaborative breakout spaces where, by using, first of all, having the space to do it, but then also the furniture, which allows kids to sit around in groups and to collaborate and to really feel flexible enough that they don't have to be connected to a table and a chair, and to be using ICT, give them the whole centre's wireless network, the capacity for teachers to really tap into different students' learning styles. You need the physical space to allow the flexibility for different forms of instruction to take place. And pedagogically, I believe that the centre has changed the way in which our teachers are operating.
And the other flexibility we found is that with 6 of the rooms, albeit 3 downstairs and 3 upstairs, having those concertina doors, if there are 2 classes of a similar nature happening at the same time, and the 2 teachers wanted to combine the 2 classes, it's just a matter of opening the doors, and therefore then you can have that extended group work where you can actually be interacting with the 2 classes and 2 teachers.
We've tried to say that the whole space is a learning space, whether there are different subjects taking place or not, and everyone is visually connected with everybody else. And if there are kids that have broken out, well, they might then be interacting with other students, albeit it might be a different subject. But you could have a student saying to someone else, look, can you help me with this? Because I know that you're pretty good at maths and I'm working on a problem. So a bit more peer tuition that could potentially be going on as well. We have a staff member whose designated position is to assist other staff integrating ICT in their teaching. Part of the deal when we issued the notebooks to all the staff was that in return for them having the notebook, they'd have to engage in an appropriate level of PD as well. So that while some of our staff have taken the notebooks and really ran with them, others are still a bit daunted by it, but we would expect they've all at least switched them on, and we can track that in terms of, well, who's used what and when have they been logged. At the end of the term, we can say, well, Leon, I notice you've switched on your machine once. how can we help you to actually start using that as an effective teaching tool? Whereas other teachers that are using it every lesson, maybe we then use them as a bit of a mentor for those staff that are just feeling a little bit vulnerable in terms of the use of ICT as well. So it's giving teachers the skills but also the tools to incorporate ICT within their teaching. So the traditional model, the teachers controlling everything and the sage on the stage, I know everything and you know nothing, let's fill up the empty vessels. I believe this is challenging that, and students can come up with great ideas that teachers can then reflect and think, gee, I hadn't thought about that, that's a really good point, and so on. And the technology is allowing us to do that. Talking with some staff, they've been delighted, as I said, particularly to hear from students that maybe normally they wouldn't have. We'd hope that digital technology will enhance relationships, not alienate that. Because if it does, I think we'll go backwards rather than forwards.
Students these days learn differently, and one of the things that I would hope to think that we here at La Salle are doing is tapping into those other forms of learning and hopefully taking that again to the next generation.